It's happening. The Appalachian Trail. Yep, I'm hitting America's most iconic long trail. I'm going to show you my initial planning and give you a chance to help me plan my adventure. Stay tuned. The Appalachian Trail runs 2,200 miles from Maine to Georgia, running through 14 states, and it's been featured in movies like Into the Woods. If you've watched my channel, you know that I've hiked the Colorado Trail, the Superior Hiking Trail, Ozark Highlands Trail, Ozark Trail, Ouachita Trail, and South Dakota's Centennial Trail. But it's time for me to hit one of the big guys. Most of the time when I do these gear loadout and planning videos, the actual publication of that video is delayed a little bit, and it's usually when I am already out on the trail or have finished the hike. And while I read every single comment that I get on these videos, usually that advice isn't real helpful because I'm already done. Well, as you can probably see from behind me here, I'm still in the mix of planning this video, and I'm not going out on this hike for a couple weeks after you are seeing this video. So I'm asking for you, if you have been down in that area, you've hiked the AT, or if you see any red flags in the plan that I'm going to tell you about, please tell me so I don't have to get smacked in the face when I'm down there with something that I planned incorrectly. Like most of my hikes, I'm going to be hiking solo. However, I'm going to be starting in mid-March. And mid-March is the most popular time for people to start through hiking the Appalachian Trail. It's called the bubble. It's where, that big herd of, and kind of where the biggest, highest point on that bell curve is of when people start. So there are about 4,000 people who try to through hike the Appalachian Trail each year. Less than 25% of those people actually finish. So it's going to be kind of crowded on the trail when I am there. I'm not super excited about that, but I'm sure it will add to the experience. I'm going to start my adventure by driving the 16 miles down to Standing Bear Farm. Now, Standing Bear Farm is a hostel that's located about 0.6 miles off of the trail. It's located 242 miles north from the starting point in Tennessee. At Standing Bear Farm, I'm going to be storing my car, and they're going to be providing me a shuttle down to Amicala Falls State Park, where I will be starting my hike. If you've watched my channel, you know that I hike bigger miles. I usually like to hike about 20 miles per day, and that is what I am planning to do on this trip. Now, if you are a through hiker, most people say to start off with lower mileage and slowly ramp yourself up as you get trail legs, as you get conditioned, so you don't get yourself injured or burnt out right away. The thing is, I'm not through hiking the Appalachian Trail. I have 2 weeks of vacation. I have a job that I like and I want to come back to. So I have 2 weeks. I'm going to hike 250 miles in that 2 weeks. And because I am only hiking 2 weeks, I can abuse my body a little bit more than a person who is going to be doing it for months. I hike 3 or 4 days, I rest. I hike 3 or 4 days, I rest. I hike 4 days and I'm done. And those 3 stretches, I'm hitting it hard. So I am going to go out fast. I'm going to go out hard. And I wouldn't recommend that for if you're actually through hiking, but that's what I'm going to do. I put a plan together for how far I'm going to hike, where I'm going to camp, where I'm going to resupply, based off of the navigation app called Far Out, used to be Guthook. And also I have the AWOL AT guide here that a friend provided to me. So with that, I can't keep to exact 20 miles per day. There are sections where you can't camp or you have to have a bear canister to camp there. So it's slightly longer, slightly shorter. And my plan isn't written in stone. It's flexible. It's just a plan, but it kind of keeps me on track to how many miles I should be on pace and hiking for the trip. So the first leg of my hike will be 78 miles. I'll be going up that approach trail to Springer Mountain, and I plan to hike 16 miles the first day and to camp at the Hawk Mountain campsite. On day 2, I'll hike another 17 miles to Lance Creek Restoration. On day 3, it will be a bigger hike due to a no camping area. I plan to hit around 26 miles and stop at Mountain Crossings, an outfitter right on the trail, for a late breakfast and grab some snacks before continuing on my really long day to the Blue Mountain Shelter. On day 4, I'm hiking about 19 miles and staying at the Around the Bend Hostel. After hitting the trail hard, it's going to feel nice to get to that hostel and rest a little bit, get a real bed, a hot shower, some real food, do some laundry, and pick up a resupply box that I'm mailing there. After a good night's sleep and some real breakfast, I'm going to head out on the second segment of my hike, which will be 81 miles. On day 5, I plan to hike 21 miles to Beach Gap. On day 6, I plan to hike another 20 miles to Moore Creek Tent Site. On day 7, I will walk 21 miles to the Wesser Bald Shelter. On day 8, I'll stop at the Nalatala Outdoor Center, better known as the Knock, for lunch, and finish up 20 miles that day to Stokoa Gap. I'm going to be heading to the Stokoa Wolf Creek Hostel. They're going to come pick me up from the trailhead there. And again, I'm going to rest, shower, bed, hot, real food, and do some laundry and just rest my body before waking up and starting to hike the next day. After hopefully a good night's rest and a good breakfast, I'm going to be heading out with a full backpack after resupplying for a 4.5 day, 91 mile stretch to the end of my hike. Now, after 16 miles on that first day, I am going to be entering Smoky Mountains National Park. And I'm going to be printing out my pass for the park before I leave on my trip. On that first day, I'm going to be hiking 22 miles to the Birch Spring campsite. On day 10, I plan to walk 18 miles to the Derrick Knob Shelter. On day 11, I will pass Klingman's Dome, a high point on the AT. I've been there. It's beautiful, but it's also a tourist trap, and I'm going to want to get the heck out of there. I will finish the 21-mile day at Spring Shelter. On day 12, I will hike 20 miles to the Cosby Knob Shelter. On day 13, I will hike 10 miles back to Standing Bear Farm, finish my hike on my birthday, and start my drive home. So that's my hiking plan. I know some of you may say I'm crazy and that's too aggressive, but that's how I roll. Watch me. I may flame and burn, but that's what I'm going to try doing. Now, I do have a couple extra days, so if the weather goes bad or I get sick or something slows me down, I do have 2 extra days that I can build in and rest or hike a little bit slower. Now, for my gear on this trip, I don't have it nailed down, and here is the big hiccup that I have. Then maybe you can provide me some recommendations. I am going to be camping in my hammock because I really like sleeping in my hammock opposed to sleeping on the ground. My first 6 days will be in a hammock. I have a couple days in beds there. But then I'm going to be entering the Smoky Mountains National Park. The first day I can sleep in a campsite, but the 3 nights after that, I have to sleep in a shelter. It's required in Smoky Mountains National Park. The only time where I won't have to sleep in the shelter is if it's full. Lord help me, I hope that it's full. But what I am doing is, because when I have a hammock, I don't have a pad to sleep on. So I'm going to be mailing my Nemo Air Tensor inflatable sleeping pad and putting that in my resupply that I'm getting at Stokoa Gap. So that last 91 miles, I'm going to be carrying my hammock, my tarp, my underquilt, and that sleeping pad. I'm not going to need that hammock stuff if I have to sleep in a shelter, but if I can get out of sleeping in the shelter, I can sleep in my hammock. So it's going to be a little bit more weight. Now, I did debate, maybe I mail home my hammock, my tarp, my underquilt, and that will get rid of a lot of space and a lot of weight. and I put in that resupply my tent. The problem is I'm going to be at that resupply on a Saturday, so the post office isn't going to be open where I can mail that gear home. So, and plus, if I can sleep in a hammock, I will sleep in a hammock. But that's going to add a little bit of extra weight there, and it's kind of throwing off my planning here. So I haven't quite decided which backpack I'm wearing. I'm going to be wearing a 40 liter. I have two 40 liter backpacks. One is ultra lightweight, and one is geared for carrying more weight. So I'm going to have to see where I come in with my gear before I decide which backpack I'm going to be bringing. I do keep a spreadsheet to keep track of all these details for my hike. You can see on the screen here, I do have it broken out into 3 different sections for my 3 segments. And I have the campsites that I hope to get to and camp at, the shelters, my meals and what I have to plan for each of my resupplies, how much, and the telephone numbers for the hostels and for the shuttles. And I have all the details on there so I don't have to keep track of it in my head. If this hike goes well, I'm probably going to end up section hiking the rest of the Appalachian Trail over a number of years in the years to come. But this is where I need your help. I've said it before. If you see any problems with my plan, if you've thru hiked the Appalachian Trail or this section of the trail, or you live down in that area and you're like, whoa, 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 you do not want to go to that campsite, weigh in the comments and let me know. So I'm going to do a whole series of videos on this adventure. And if you want to see those videos, go ahead and hit subscribe, punch the bell notification. I'm going to have content on Facebook and Instagram as well. I'm super excited to go out on this adventure. I'm sick of this snow up here and sick of parents yelling at me when I'm reffing basketball games. I want to get out in the woods. More trees, less assholes. Thanks for coming along. If you're out on the AT, maybe I will see you out on the trail.